Waiting for entertainment that's expected is a painful experience. Theater Camp is streaming now on Hulu and comes to us from the writer-director team of Nick Lieberman and Molly Gordon, who also stars in the movie as Rebecca Diane. I don't know why I said it like that. It just popped into my head. And also was written by Noah Galvin and Ben Platt, who are a real-life couple, and if you want to be homophobic, fuck you, get the fuck off my channel, get the fuck off this goddamn earth, you fucking homophobic pieces of shit. Anyway, nevertheless, let people be who they are. Let them live as they are. Just, wanted to get that out there because I'm really fucking sick of the goddamn homophobia and all that stuff. You don't need to live your life through hate. So yeah, Theater Camp is about, wait for it, a camp where kids can participate in theater activities and put on plays and become thespians. And then you have adult thespians. There's nothing wrong with that, because some of my favorite adult friends are thespians. Jokes aside, this got a lot of attention. Has a pretty good score as far as reviews go from critics and audiences alike. And I will say right now, as far as the plot, it's really just a mockumentary following people, following the kids, following the teachers, who are also played by the various writer and, the writing team and all that. It's based on a short film from 2020, and is not a sequel to Sleepaway Camp. As funny as it would have actually been for these kids to go on a slasher spree, no, it is not a sequel to Sleepaway Camp. By the way, check out Sleepaway Camp. It's not a musical, as entertaining as I would have been, but this is one of the best goddamn slashers and is 40 years old this year. I was 2 years old when this came out. Anyway, yeah, back to Theater Camp. So, Ben Platt plays Amos, Amos. I mean, not Edward James almost, not any of that. He is a teacher at this theater camp that is run by a woman named Joan. Joan has a medical issue that knocks her out of the rest of the film in the beginning of it, and her son Troy, played by Jimmy Turturro, he's not the most business-minded individual. He doesn't know what he's getting into. He recognizes this is something his mother loved doing, but he doesn't understand theater, doesn't understand any of this stuff. And he's not the best businessman either. And let's just say the theater is on the verge of foreclosure. There's also rival camps like Lakeside, where Caroline, Patty Harrison is running and basically makes an offer to help out and everything. And let's just say it's a lot of, it's really told through a lot of dialogue. There really isn't a whole lot of action. You do get to see the kids acting their stuff out, preparing, and some go through breathing exercises, some go through various techniques to become better and become better actors. And they just want to be good. They want to go to Juilliard, all these schools and all this stuff. And it's basically, if you're not really into theater, if you hate theater, musical theater, then you may actually like this. If you like musical theater, you may like this. It's really hard to tell. The mileage that people are going to get out of this, is going to vary. It's going to depend on how you feel about mockumentaries. It kind of reminds me of Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. If Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul was well written, well acted, well paced, and wasn't absolutely shit like Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul was. I hated that movie. Theater Camp, I wasn't sure how to take this movie at first because the mockumentary style and the apparently completely improvised dialogue, like the writing was done for blocking the scenes and giving the baseline and stuff, but apparently improvised dialogue. Okay, that's definitely a risk. It's a big risk. And you know what? The cast, from the adults to the kids, are up for it. It felt natural, it felt organic, and it ended up winning me over. I wasn't necessarily sold on all of it, at least at first, but it did end up winning me over, and Theater Camp ended up being one of the most absorbing and surprising movies of the year. It definitely won me over by the end. There was a character named Rita Cohen, who I really hope is actually healthy, because whenever Caroline Aaron talked, I thought it was Linda Blair's demon voice from The Exorcist. Your mother sucks cocks in hell, or David from Independence Day. That being said, apparently it was shot in 19 days, had about 70 hours of footage, and was cobbled together to make this mockumentary. Now, I do think that there are a few uneven parts. There are some things that don't totally land, but it's experimental. I'll give them that much credit, and they obviously had a lot of passion for it. And it was something that I can absolutely see why people praised it. Is it one of my favorite movies of the goddamn year? Not entirely. I mean, again, there are some uneven parts to it. But as it goes on, you get more and more into it. You start feeling it. And it ends up being just something that can absolutely draw you in. I remember actually being part of the drama class in high school and even in a couple years of college. And you know what? Preparing a one-act play to a full-on play, a musical or otherwise, is difficult. It's a lot of stuff. You go through a lot of shit in your head. And that gave me some flashbacks and stuff like that. I mean, I never did anything exactly up to this scale, but it was fun to reflect on that. And this was actually well put together. Well put together overall. Perfect? No, but experimental in a positive way with some earnest heart and some decent humor and some good performances. I look forward to what everybody else can do. And the kids did a pretty damn good job. Pretty damn good job in this. So I am going to get into spoilers. It's on Hulu if you want to check it out. Give it a shot. There's really not much to spoil as far as the plot because, again, mockumentary just does this and everything. And it's really just about watching these actors play these characters and play them in an improvised way. And it works for the most part. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, basically, Joan, who is the matriarch of this whole goddamn thing, ends up having a seizure when there's a strobe light thing going on in the in this one particular play. So, basically, we end up getting text blocks, and we follow these kids around. We follow these teachers around. We followed all this stuff. Ayo Edebiri's in this, who is the voice of April O'Neil in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as well as, being in one of my favorite movies of the year, Bottoms. Seriously, Bottoms is awesome. It's going to be coming out in digital soon. If you can check it out in theaters, do that. But otherwise, yes, absolutely rent it on digital. I will be buying it on Blu-ray when it comes out. This is about theater camp. Again, not Sleepaway Camp, as hilarious as that would have been. A musical version of Sleepaway Camp where, boy, the ending of this movie. I need to rewatch Sleepaway Camp again. Anyway, let's get back to this. I wrote down Ayo Edebiri is everywhere. And the character of Troy's he means well, but he's kind of an idiot because he doesn't understand how business works. Financially, the camp is totally fucked unless they can get proper funding because Joan was able to run it well, even though it was having some issues and Troy's having his problems. And then there's tension between Amos and Rebecca Diane. Rebecca Diane has given up a whole lot of her dreams. She gave up going to Juilliard. She reveals a little bit later that she's going to kind of leave the camp in a lurch, even though she means well because she got a job working on the cruise line and putting on a show there, which would be good money and also something that she wants to do. Amos isn't really an understanding significant other. He keeps interrupting constantly. Keeps constantly interrupting. Like, she tries to say something and he keeps cutting her off. It's like, oh, I don't do that. I don't do that. And just talking over each other and all that. Troy ends up kind of, falling for Carolyn, Patty Harrison. And then she kind of makes a deal with him where we'll save the camp, but, you're going to sign it over to me, basically. But the thing is, they can only take over the camp if the bank forecloses on it. And since they're not going to foreclose on it, since Caroline is running Lakeside, she's like, I can run 2 camps, and then I can get Jason Voorhees to take out both. Wait, I would have loved to have seen a musical version of Jason Voorhees in this. And then there's other stuff talking about like how some people cheat, to do emotions during plays, like using tear sticks, version of chapstick. Tear sticks are doping for, actors. And Rebecca takes her job. Amos is upset. Things are falling apart. Troy comes up with the brilliant idea to, hey, I have some guys or, some fellow vloggers, because he's into vlogging, they could invest in this whole thing. So they show up. That doesn't end up working out all that well, in all honesty. And a lot of this is explained in text. But what ends up happening, the play goes off great. Once the play starts, actually, this movie kicks it into gear. The kids did great. The kids did great stuff. In fact, the third act pretty much saves this movie, basically, from being middle of the road to decent. I would argue that the payoff there with that works pretty goddamn well. It's a story of Joan's life. They have this whole thing set up where Joan can watch it from her hospital bed even though she's asleep. And Amos is impressed. Everybody's impressed. Everybody's applauding. The kids did great. The kids did great shit here, telling the story of Joan's life. Great performances. Great costume design. Great costume design here. And then Rebecca shows back up. And even though she had left for her job, don't worry, I'm going to come back. I'll come back and visit. I'll write you every day. And then this is the funny part. It turns out that they actually weren't performing the whole thing for Joan because it was some other woman they had set up in the wrong area. And the woman applauded, though, you're going to be big stars, all this stuff. Well, the investment group is, fellow vloggers. They're being investigated by the SEC because of crypto and all that and whatever. But somebody ended up stopping the bank from foreclosing on it. A guy named, there are some who called him Tim, who was an Airbnb guest of Troy's, and made a sizable investment because he's on Wall Street but has a cocaine problem. But he said, sure, I'll give you that instead of spending it on coke. I guess, why not? And, yeah, the lady wasn't Joan and all that. And then the camp's saved. Everything's working good. People, we get scrolling texts about what everybody is doing. And then it turns out that actually they just set up on the wrong bed because Joan was in the second bed and she woke up. Don't let Troy run the camp. Wait, what's going on? Oh, I just saw the story about your life. And all that. And do you know why I'm here? And the woman that watched the play said no. And that ends. Theater camp ends. It's weird. It's wild. It takes a bit. Stick with it, and it ends up working out. I give it an A-. Again, some unevenness, but it ended up winning me over in the end, especially with that play. So, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.